Yeah, tonight and throughout the day they've been flying operations from this aircraft carrier, the Eisenhower, into Iraq. Now, it's a potent symbol of American power, power that plenty of people around the Gulf, some of them natural allies of the Americans, say has been misused over the last 4 years. Now there's speculation about another war with Iran over its nuclear plans, which Washington denies. Still, the Middle East is changing in ways which the Americans never anticipated 4 years ago.
Modern weapons can hit any target, except for people's minds. The Americans are relearning the Vietnam lesson. You can bend and break a country, but not necessarily into the shape you expect. US military power was supposed to start making Iraq into a democratic beacon for the Middle East to copy. But 4 years on, no country wants to be like Iraq. Saudi Arabia opens its land crossing with Iraq only once a year for pilgrims coming to Mecca. The Saudis, America's most important Arab ally, have stiffened their surveillance of the border. It's not just that Iraq's disaster could rumble across a frontier that runs through 1,000 kilometers of desert. Saddam's army used to be a buffer between Saudi Arabia and the Iranians. Now the Saudis see Iran's influence, potentially reinforced with nuclear weapons, coming right up to the concrete border markers.
One of the things that is most worrying for the Saudis and for the rest of the Middle East is the extent to which what's happening in there in Iraq is leaking out. Saddam Hussein was never a good neighbor, but in his last 10 years or so in power, he was contained. He was predictable. What's happening in Iraq just now is not predictable. And for conservative Arab leaders, that's a very uncomfortable feeling.
This is Prince Talal, brother of the Saudi king, Abdullah. The king has started a diplomatic offensive to try to stabilize the Middle East that President Bush built.
Those people in the White House now, they made great mistakes. Now their policy toward Iraq, their policy toward Lebanon, their policy toward the Shia in the Gulf, it's all their mistakes.
The Saudis spend a lot training their internal security forces, helped by Britain's SAS. Their main targets are violent Islamists. They are still unbeaten despite the counter-terror unit's skills. Saudi forces train this hard to protect their leaders who deny their own brand of Islam encourages violent extremism. Instead, senior Saudis say the occupation of Iraq is a recruiting sergeant for homegrown jihadists.
Yeah, it is. It inspires these people, and some of these people actually think it's their duty to go and perform jihad in Iraq. They think they are supporting the Muslims in Iraq, supporting actually protecting the Islamic civilization or Islamic culture in Iraq.
At the biggest arms fair in the Middle East in Abu Dhabi last month, weapons for border security and counter-insurgency were the big sellers. The Gulf Arabs still want American protection, but US power is overstretched, and working through the consequences of the invasion of Iraq 4 years ago will be a long, rough ride.
Now, there's a lot of activity here on the hangar deck of the USS Eisenhower. They're preparing planes behind me. It's 2:30 in the morning here. It's a 24-hour operation. Now, what happens in this part of the world matters. Don't forget, this is where the oil comes from. So trouble here affects us all. If there was an attack on Iran, that would be the start of a big, new, serious crisis. The Americans say that is not on the agenda. But if diplomacy against Iran falters by the end of the year, perhaps that could change.